I didn't think it was going to be as bad as it was, just based on the forecast, just jumping back and forth.
I don't think anybody knew how bad it was going to be. I mean, people died. Texans died because of this. And it's like, we can try and prepare as best as we can, but even the best prepared person was still underprepared. People froze to death, children froze to death. And how do you prepare for that? How do you ever prepare for that? And it was grossly negligent.
And now we turn to the impact in Texas of last week's storms, power outages, and water shortages.
Texas residents there, they've been dealing with the brutal cold and the catastrophic failure of their state's energy infrastructure, living without power.
State lawmakers are set to begin hearings over the outages in the coming days.
In 5 words, describe my mood
this week. Ooh.
This week?
This week.
Resilient.
Maybe a little upset with the situation. Of course, it wasn't our fault, really.
Obviously anxious because of everything that was going on, and there's a lot of stuff happening that was out of our control.
Drunk. Yeah, I mean, if that's a mood.
Describe a moment that happened to us over the past week where you realized you trusted me. The entire week. No, don't start that.
Well, I
want to say the entire experience, just in general. There wasn't like a distinct moment.
How did I experience this past week differently than you did?
Oh, for one, you had to deal with power outages and water not running and a baby.
You're obviously a firefighter, a paramedic, and a police officer. And in your department, you respond in all 3 capacities in whichever you're needed. And I was just worried, that somebody speeding or not paying attention would plow into you while you're trying to assist another wreck, or, if you're there responding in your medical capacity or, providing traffic control. I was terrified, because how many times has y'all's fire apparatus been struck in a year?
Once we were able to have some place to go because we didn't have water or heat or anything here, you know what I mean? So it was like, granted, we didn't, our apartment didn't flood or nothing crazy, right? But I feel like it was still a catastrophic event that happened. And I think trying to wrap your mind around something like that and just seeing, not gonna cry, but just seeing how other people were affected and people dying and being in their cars and all that. I think that was really difficult.
I was nervous because there were 2 days where we didn't send each other anything. So that was kind of scary. And that was when I was like, oh, I need to call you. And at that point you were like, we just got home, we're fine. Because I knew you made it to your friends safely.
I'll say it's a different experience because that was kind of one of the few times that I've ever felt helpless, seeing you cold, seeing the dogs cold, obviously shivering. We had every blanket in the house on the couch, had the fire going, and no matter how big I got that fire in the fireplace, it wouldn't warm the house, and we're in a newer house that has good insulation. So I can only imagine how other people were that have older homes that don't have the insulation or the windows that we do, that we were able to maintain the little heat that we did have, and we were miserable at 40 degrees. And here I was in my own home, and you were looking to me to solve the problem, and I didn't have a solution. And that broke my heart to not be able to take care of the people that I love.
I feel like when times get rough, people can band together, right? Mm-hmm. But I feel like I wish more people would band together when it's not just a tragic or state of emergency event, you know?
Right.
Because like the amount of posts I've seen about people like, oh, you know, the homeless, we're so worried about the homeless people out there, right? And then it's like, well, they're still homeless today and nobody's worried about them.
I'm telling you, like I did not, this week completely changed the way I see our friendship. Playing that game together and just having fun and getting to talk to one another instead of being on our phones so much, like that was so valuable for me.
100%. This is going to sound really weird, but that was the best thing to happen over last week, was not be able to be on my phone, because I'm not sure if many people who aren't in Texas know, but all the power went out for several days in Texas, including the cell phone towers. So we had little to no signal, and it was super hard to...
Well, it was either the signal went out or it was just backed up from how many people were using it because they couldn't use their Wi-Fi.
What do you think gives me hope?
I would say you find hope in your kid and their future and what you're building and what you're working on. Because if you didn't have them, I don't know what you would like. Obviously, you wouldn't have sat in your house and frozen to death during last week.
A lot of Texans just rallied together for the other Texans, because, you know, it could have been the opposite. And I know that they would have wanted our help. And just seeing so many strangers come together and be that, you know, that help for another stranger, it kind of makes, you know, all the bad not be so bad.
That gives you hope.
As hard as the storm was and as difficult as it was, having it bring us together like that, like I'm so blessed by that. And to know that I have people that I can go to, because I don't have very many people that I can go to.
You continue to amaze me at like how, like, I knew you were this like amazing human for other people, but I had never, like, I'd seen you in action, but I'd never seen it in action for me.
I think your kid gives you hope, and I think you make your own.